and I hope everyone turns their attention to Dr. Ann.
Wonderful. How are you guys feeling now? Nice and relaxed. I was falling asleep in the back. So my background is I am the Director of Child Neurology and Pediatric Sleep Medicine at Geisinger down at White Children's Hospital. But I'm going to also give you a lot of background about myself more broadly. And the reason why I'm going to give you a lot more background about who I am is because you're here today to be empowered, to be able to say, what are the skills that I want to walk away with to transform my life, to transform my journey? With that stated, you need to know, where is the information coming from? Is it a valid, reliable source of information? Just because I have credentials and academic accomplishments doesn't mean that I have good advice. And so I want to share with you my own journey and who I am and what I invest my time into, so that you can say, is this a person I identify with? Is this information that I want to utilize? And I would encourage you to do that every single day of your life. Otherwise, you will be falsely misled to be a person that you didn't have the goal to be. So we're going to talk about embracing control of your life and using all 24 hours to make maximum gains. And so this may sound counterintuitive because we live in a country where the mantra is, I'll sleep when I'm dead and I can get away with less sleep. One of the things I commonly respond to when I hear this type of mantra is you'll get there a lot sooner, meaning you'll enhance the likelihood of achieving death before achieving the goals that you would like. And many times when I interact with teenagers, they have now adopted that same mentality because of the fact that all of the adults running around them have given and conditioned us to think that that's the right way to live. However, what we're finding is the average US adult, more than 60%, are getting insufficient sleep. And the role of sleep is one that actually is critical. When we fall asleep and we cycle through different stages of sleep, we actually have very, very critical elements to our overall health and wellness, but also academic performance. Sounds counterintuitive, right? Probably are thinking all of the learning I do happens when I'm in school and when I'm studying for my exams. However, learning occurs in three phases: acquisition, consolidation, retrieval. Acquisition is what you're doing right now. I'm going to teach you some new information. Retrieval is when I'm going to send you an email next week and asking you what you learned. I won't do that. Consolidation occurs on a night-by-night basis. In fact, there's been a lot of historical context around, is it that our brain is getting rid of garbage that we don't need, or is it actually reinforcing the positive learned things that we need to keep on? And in fact, it actually is both. Both things occur. And the different stages of sleep contribute to that differentially. It also helps learning that you may not realize is learning. If you play an instrument or a sport, those are things that your brain has to consolidate in learning so that you can improve your performance day after day. By curtailing your sleep, you actually are curtailing your opportunity to achieve the best version of who you can be. So how did I get here today? Well, I left Danville. I took 80. Now, how I got here today is described a little bit here. So I put a diverse amount of pictures here to kind of give you a glimpse of who I am, what I do, what I'm passionate about. So all the way over to this side, that's at the birth of my first child. That's my husband and I. Clearly we were excited, but also giving a joke of how scary that is. It was a major transition in my life. I was a first year attending, and having my first child, there was a lot that was going to be thrown at me. Little did I know at that time that within the next year, while my child was less than a year of age, that I'd be taking over the division of child neurology. So as a second year attendant, and rebuilding it and growing it and having to learn how to balance being a good mom and being present while also achieving the growth and development that my division needed, but that my patients required. You also see that I'm very invested in being an advocate. I speak all over the world on patient advocacy, on how for individuals to be empowered on their own journey, My mantra as a physician is, I am expert in diagnoses, in treatments, in reading tests and ordering them. Each individual in front of me who's seeking care is an expert in your own lives. And I give you that illustration because the same thing is true for you. I also, you'll see, have my own TikTok. You're probably like, wow, she's old for TikTok. Well, with that stated, why did I go to TikTok? I actually had to do advocacy. My patients were coming to me and saying, this is what I'm learning on the internet. And instead of being most clinicians who would say, don't mistake your Google search with my doctoral degree, I said, what have you learned? And many times it was an opportunity for me to learn, and other times it was an opportunity for me to redirect. It was a call to action. That was a very unusual call to action. And in fact, in the medical world, when I get asked to speak, many times they go, and the TikTok influencer, and I go, I'm a micro-influencer. So with that stated, I give you this diverse array because I could stand up here and tell you all my academic accolades and all these different things, but I want to tell you I'm a real person who does real things, who has a real family. And I accomplish these things by leaning into the strengths and leaning into taking advantage of all 24 hours. So this is our journey map for today. We're going to create your progress map. And the reason why you'll constantly hear me refer to things like journey and where you are in your progression or your progress map is because when we judge ourselves in a binary fashion, if I succeeded or I failed, we will constantly shortchange ourselves of what we are capable of. And so you want to make sure that as you're creating your journey map and looking at what you're going to do over progression, is that you start with the end in mind. Sometimes sounds counterintuitive to think about what it is that I want to achieve overall, whether that's in 5 years, 10 years, and then creating the little milestones in between. We're going to actually define empower. And I'm sorry, I wasn't in here all day, so someone may have already done that, so it might be redundant. I'm also going to remind you, don't ever, ever use the F word. It's not the one you're thinking of. It's also not failure. The day has 24 hours for a reason, and I want you to be able to maximize them. I'm going to give you a specific tool that I want you to do when you leave here so that you can actually continuously maximize how you're using 24 hours. And then we're going to strategize for success. So start with the end in mind. Starting with the end in mind means that you are looking at what is the future version of you. You want to start with saying, if I were 1 year from now, 3, 5, 10, what would I want that person to be proud of me doing right in this moment? What do I need to do in order to get to that point? Sometimes we're thinking about it in regards to, I just want to get into college. I just want to be done with high school. I just want to be done, and we're thinking about the I just want us. I want you to think big. I want you to think bold. I want you to think beyond what anyone has told you you're capable of. When you start thinking about the things that you have not even considered for yourself, you start to be impressed by what you're actually able to achieve. When I say that, I will reflect on the day I met my husband, which was very traditional. It was in a nightclub in New York City. I was a first-year pediatric resident, and he said, what are you going to do when you're done? And I said, I'm going to be a private practice child neurologist. I'm the first doctor in my family. I come from central New Jersey, and that's all I knew. I will tell you, I run 2 divisions. I'm a researcher. I'm a program director. I speak all over the world. I advise multiple companies. I'm involved in venture capitalism. I'm not a private practice pediatric neurologist. It was nothing that I never thought that I could accomplish, but I get to. I get to stand on stage in front of people like you and tell you what you may not have dreamed yet is possible. So empower, what does this mean? To give or delegate, power or authority to, authorize. To give ability to, enable, or permit. Your attendance here is giving yourself the permission to actually have the power and authority over what your today and your future looks like. Every single day, I encourage you to think about, are you living an empowered life? It's not necessarily that you can control everything around you, but you can control your response and your actions to things that feel like they're manipulating you. So the F word, I'm sure this is what you all were waiting for me to start dropping F-bombs on stage and say, Mom, Dad, you're not going to believe the conference you sent me to. The word is frustrated. By a raise of hands, how many people use the word frustrated? I'm going to ask you to never ever use that word again. Why? Does anyone have any thoughts? Why? Does anyone know what the definition of frustrated means? An emotional response to something you can't influence or change. You just heard me say that there's nothing in life that you don't have control over. And you're going to go, I don't have control over school start time. I don't have control over my curfew. I don't have control over what homework gets assigned. You have control over whether you're going to adhere to that curfew. You have control over how you're going to utilize your day for you to be able to meet that school start time or not meet that school start time. You have the ability to create decisions and respond and understand the risk and reward to every single thing you do. What I'm describing to you is something called the circle of influence. The circle of influence is taking everything in your life and understanding how you can take an active role in changing how you interact in those areas. When people tell me, and this is going to give you a real life example for myself, when I've been in meetings, and the meeting's purpose is to tell me about a follow-up of a conversation we had previously, and we agreed upon, this is the direction we're going to go, right? You've probably had this with your parents or teachers, where they say, this is what we're going to do, and this is what I expect of you. So you show up and you do your part, to only find that the other person hasn't. And so how does that make you feel when that happens? Does anyone feel good about it? No. But you shouldn't feel frustrated. Very frequently they will say that. I know you feel frustrated because this isn't what you wanted. Does that sound like something you've heard before? I've seen a lot of shaking heads. What they have said to you is, your reaction is emotional. It's not based in fact. It's not based on the fact that I owed you anything. And when it's emotional, can someone else change your emotions? There's nothing I can do to change you, right? That's what they've said to you. So instead, when someone says that, my response is very much apologize that what you believe is an emotional response, but this isn't an emotional response. What you may be experiencing is your own personal discomfort of me expecting an agreement on the accountability structure we agreed on. And I'm looking for how you're going to respond to get us back in alignment. This allows choosing and using the words that respond to what people are forcing you to accept, allow for you to remain in the driver's seat, allow you to remain with your eyes on the prize. So as I mentioned, the day has 24 hours for a reason. Your best day starts from the moment you close your eyes. And your best night starts when you first open them. Does that make sense to anyone in this room? Maybe a little bit. If you're like, I think, I don't know. What I mean is if I tell you, and this is what most doctors will do, is, oh, you're having trouble sleeping? Let me talk to you about sleep hygiene. Turn off your computer, don't look at screen time, stay away from social media, do a bedtime routine, get into bed. If that is my solution for you, I've already missed the opportunity for you to get your best night's sleep. The reason why I say it starts from the moment you wake up is because when you wake up and you choose how to spend your day, you are increasing the use of energies and actually producing neurochemicals in your brain to help you to be able to fall asleep later. If you start to choose to drink sodas and caffeinated beverages later in the day, you're undoing what it is that you're trying to mount up as your sleep pressure. If you decide to start worrying as you're getting ready for bed, or ruminating on the things that you have to accomplish the next day or all this, you're already ruining the ability to be able to fall asleep. So when you start your day off with the intention of I want to maximize the use of my day, it allows for you to be more functional, to be able to fall asleep. The same thing is true in regards to when you when you fall asleep, that is going to dictate how good your day is. How many people in this room wake up and feel well rested? 1, 2, 3, a handful. So the majority of us wake up and we feel horrible. We feel like, oh man, I wish I could just press the snooze. Does that excite you to get out of bed and take on the world? No. So you've already set the tone to your day. You've already set the tone of like, I slept so crappy, I didn't get enough sleep. Today's gonna suck. You've predicted your own future. And so that's where we can start thinking about why does that happen? And so this is how we strategize for success. Many times, part of the challenge that we have as to why we're sleeping poorly and having less than optimal days is because we actually aren't utilizing our time across the 24 hours in the most optimal way. So time management has a bi-directional relationship with sleep. If I do poor time management during the day, I sleep terribly. There's actually research that has demonstrated it reduces the amount of time, but it also reduces the quality of time. If I'm not sleeping well, whether it's reduced hours, quality, etc., it actually leads to impairment in your frontal and prefrontal cortex, your executive decision, your judgment. You become more impulsive, more moody, irritable. If you're going to take a test, you're going to be more likely to select that distractor response, even though you might know the right content. And so this is giving you just some overall strategies of what you can do. And if they don't have a copy of this, they can get a copy. So you want to master time utilization. How can you do this? You want to prioritize your tasks. You want to understand, are they urgent or non-urgent? You want to make sure that you're also looking at how you're utilizing them, and then schedule time blocks. So let's look at this in actual function. This is the exercise I want you guys to do afterwards. So I want you to do some form of time utilization. And so this is just giving you an illustration. If you were to break down your day, and many times I'll do this with students, or I'll do this even with my own patients, I'll ask them, break down your day. I want you to keep track of how you utilize your time across a day, every 15, 30 minutes if you can. So that includes everything from eating breakfast, studying, the amount of time I'm scrolling on Instagram, right? Making my bed, doing chores. And then what I want you to do after you've collected all this information is then put it in this Punnett square. This Punnett square is designed for you to put each action based on its level of importance and its level of urgency. So if it's something that is important and urgent, I have a big project, I have a big test, that's tomorrow. That should be going in that bottom blue box. If it's something that is important, I have a big project, but it's 4 months away. That goes into that important, non-urgent, so more of that teal colored box. If it's something that is urgent, but not necessarily important. My friends want to go out to a movie tonight, right? That's going to be elective, but urgent. I have to make that decision tonight. And then the things that are either elective and non-urgent are going to be like, I'm going to scroll on social media because we just want to do a brain dump. We don't want to think about anything. That goes into your elective non-urgent. When you do that, it allows you to prioritize tasks. In a given day, you can start your day with going, what do I need to accomplish today? What is my level of urgency? What is my level of importance? So the first strategy is saying, how am I actually using my time? The second strategy is saying, how do I proactively decide how I utilize my time? This is the thing that you don't get taught in school. They give you projects, they give you tests, they tell you what your grades are, but they don't necessarily prepare you for life. When you go to college or you go into the workplace, people are just going to expect that this is a natural thing that you know how to do. It wasn't until I became an attending physician that I started to realize that I needed to do this. Because I was way too ADHD and doing too many different things that I started not being successful in some of the things I really wanted to be, no matter how passionate I was about it. So when you're combining your passion and purpose with a skill set for you to be able to execute at the highest power, it's going to lead to the successful version that you're desiring to be. So when we're looking at the progress map that we were discussing, you're going to set clear goals. You want to define specific, achievable, measurable goals and the expected timeline for those achievement. Most things in life are not binary, pass or fail. They're generally as increments. If I were a person who was on a weight loss journey and I wanted to lose 75 pounds, it wouldn't be I was successful or I failed. It would be I lost 5 pounds, great, I feel encouraged. I lost 10 pounds, great, I was encouraged. People know I do not run at all. I hate running. But let's say I wanted to do a marathon. I would not expect to just go and do a marathon tomorrow. I would first have to achieve doing even half a block. These shoes are not the best for running. I would have to get sneakers. So understanding that and giving yourself the grace to be able to be successful. Acknowledge strengths and weaknesses, leverage what you are good at, and consider the areas needed work for targeted growth and development along the way. And so many times people stunt themselves by saying, I'm not good at that, and just accept that failure or not being able to do it is the only option, and that's not necessarily true. Mile markers matter, so along your journey, do self-check-ins as progress occurs, and then reroute when you need. So in all journeys, there are many options on how to be able to get to the destination you want to be at, and sometimes it's not the path that you had predetermined for yourself. Seek feedback regularly. Collect feedback, respond to it when applicable, and for continuous improvement and adjustment. What do I mean by that? Some people like to give feedback just to hear themselves talk. It doesn't mean that's necessarily constructive feedback. So you don't necessarily always have to take what other people say. Implement adjustments. As we progress, things can change. Sometimes our goals change, sometimes our environment change, sometimes our resources change. You need to adjust and be able to redirect based on your new position. So the takeaway, you have 24 hours for a reason. Choose your reason. Thank you. Any questions? I've stunned you into silence. All right, thank you guys.